Good morning. My name is Molly Ward, and I am a certified financial divorce analyst. I'm going to be speaking about the financial side of the divorce today. It's part of the transformation that Trey talked about. Here's what I see happen. I've been practicing as a certified financial planner for the last 22 years. I see this in most everybody's life. There's some phase, I call it derailment, but I've seen so many brilliant businesswomen, hardworking moms, they're unnecessarily suffering during divorce. It's inevitable. And if a woman is thoughtfully, thoroughly, and actively prepared, she is going to change the course of her life and her family's life. So I remember about 4 years ago, I felt like I got hit by a truck. I too went through a divorce. It was a big surprise to me. On the upside though, I shed 10 pounds in 4 weeks, and it was right between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Who could have thought that somebody could do that? That was a really rough time, and but I knew I had to be there. I had to have my head on straight. I have kids. They were looking at me as a role model. I know that sometime down the road in their own life, they're going to go through a hard time as well, and I needed to role model what to do during a crisis. I was a CFP, the top of my field, certified financial planner for almost 20 years when I went through my divorce. So the financial side was really easy for me since I did this for a living. However, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be because I had a lot of emotion at that time that was throwing me offline. So those parts of my brain weren't working as well as they normally do. But I realized how valuable that expertise was, the financial expertise. And so that's when I changed my career, my mission, to incorporate the divorce financial side. So it's a real kind of lemons to lemonade story that my divorce has prompted me to help other women and make that more of a mission in my career. And I really feel like, there's this, has anybody heard of that something happens to me, something happens for me, something happens through me? So that's what this is. So the divorce happened to me. I was a victim. He left. But then, I realized, it happened for me. Thank God he left. Oops. And then now here I am. It's happening through me. I'm able to help others. All right. So, what does all that have to do with financial planning and financial steps during divorce? A whole lot, because I want you guys to have a clear head and know that it's going to be okay. One of the best financial planning tips of a divorce is keeping it amicable. You're going to save a lot of money that way and come out on the other side with less wounds for your husband, kids, and yourself. All right, so the first step is assessing what you have. This is possibly the largest financial transaction in your life. You need to know what these numbers mean. They're going to be thrown at you. And you're in charge of your divorce. Your attorney is not in charge of these numbers, you are. So what we like to do, and what we're gonna work on a little bit today, this is a pictograph map of your financial life. I think it makes it really simple, and it's a graphic of everything going on financially. You can see he has income coming in. They have grayed out boxes of Social Security coming in. The red boxes out to the sides of the couple, they are retirement accounts. Beneath them, they have a bank account, they own a business, they have an investment account, they have a house and a mortgage. Above them are protections. Those are their insurances. So what we want you to do is to be able to have a mental picture like this of what you have. And you can mark it up, trying to fill in the boxes for yourself. You can start jotting down the numbers that you know, and then maybe circling the ones that you don't know. And so these are, the biggest things we see are the house, retirement accounts, 401ks, bank accounts, and then the insurances. Those are important as well. Life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance. All of those are important to the financial picture. Income, maybe future income like a pension. Employment. There's something called the Financial Issues of Divorce. This is a great handbook for people going through a divorce, and it's written by the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. So it really is, makes some of these financial things much more simple in here and very thorough. So if you want to get your hands on one of these books, it's a great guide as well. Nobody likes the B word, budget, right? Or expenses. These are sometimes tedious to figure out, but it's one of the numbers you have to know. What are your expenses? What are your expenses going to be after you're divorced? This is the driver of whether you're going to be okay or not. One of the big drivers. There's so many ways to find out what your expenses are because of our credit cards. You know, if you log into your credit card, it can run an expense report for you, and it breaks it down into all these categories. Your bank accounts, most of the banks also have the same feature for your checking account. So know these numbers, and that's going to help with the future, with your future in your finances. Another place to get some really important information about what's going on in your financial life is your paycheck or your husband's paycheck, and then also tax returns. They have a wealth of information on there. Your attorney or your financial planner is going to want to see those, okay? So you have got to know what these numbers mean. I mean, I said it before, but this is crunch time. This is where your A game has to be on. You've got to know the rules to different accounts. You know, not all accounts are created equal. A retirement account is different than an investment account. The details, it's not time for a nap. It's time to read that fine print and what does it mean to you. So then the second step, that first step is figuring out what you have, knowing what it is and why you have it. Then, once you know those things, you can project what your life looks like without your husband. So there's that map again, and there are the two of you in the middle. Then we get to put an X through him. But then you have to put an X through his income. See how we're taking that out? And then you know, take a look at these two assets here, the 401k and the investment account. They have the same dollar amount in there, right? I think that says 700,000. Those two numbers look the same, right? But they're not, because 700,000 in an investment account is 700,000 in a retirement account have different taxes. So the retirement account has heavier taxes. The investment account probably has less as high taxes. And you have to know that, and you have to know really what you get after that's liquidated and how much that benefits you or not. There's rules around 401ks about ages and some other things, and the investment account doesn't have those rules. So there's differences. So you need to know what the differences are so that can inform you on some good decisions. Let me go back. This couple, does anybody in here have a family business or own a business? This couple on my map, they own a business, so there's a little bit of added complexity to that as well. You know, you just can't go and sell a business like you can sell stocks in a brokerage account. So that has to have some attention to it, more detailed attention to it as well. So now we have taken husband out, and we have Jane Doe is her name, and you know, this is assuming that the assets were divided. She has no income. She decided to keep the house. She was really important to her to stay there, stability of the kids, memories, all that kind of stuff. So she's going to have to tap that investment account. And so that's what she has to live off of in this picture. The business, Doe Inc., that's not very liquid. I mean, again, maybe she can sell it to her ex-husband. I don't know. That one's very questionable. But so you have to look at this and say, well, how is she going to support herself? She does have some child support coming in because her children are under 18, but they're not under 18 for much longer. So what we do, you know, if you come see a certified financial divorce analyst, we're going to look at that, and then we're going to do projections, and we're going to be able to say, hey, this is what life looks like. Well, for Jane Doe in this situation, we looked at that, and we looked at how much she's going to spend, and it looks like in about 2 years she's out of money. She's out of money in that investment account. So she is forced now to sell the house or maybe raid her retirement account And that's not a good situation. And so this is why it's really important to see what the future is going to look like based on what you have going on financially. Now, something happened a little bit different here. So Jane used to be in the movie business, and she went back into it, into film and kind of behind the scenes stuff, and she got to go back to work, and she's bringing in $75,000 a year in her job. She decided to buy a new house. It was less, she has a mortgage, and so now she's got some house proceeds to be able to help offset some of her expenses, which is great. So with her, we looked at how her projections looked, and this timeline goes out until she's 95, and because of that income coming in, that extra income coming in from her job, being able to use the house, that equity in the house, because we see so many times that's one of the biggest assets is the equity in the house. She's really able to offset her expenses. We like this better, that's why there's a happy face. All right, so what could be some strategies for you? All right, the home. I'm bringing it up again because this really is usually one of the biggest assets with the equity in it. And it's a difficult asset, right? I mean, you can't just go into your E-Trade account and sell it. It takes a while to sell a house, even if your neighbor's house sold before it was even on the market. That's not what could happen to yours. Your house could sit for 6 months or more to sell. So that's really hard. I really like what Trey said about if you're thinking about selling or need to sell, that you sell while you're getting divorced. That's really good advice. You're on the same side of the table with somebody that you might not be on the table, same side of the table with at the moment. But your interests are aligned. You got to think through, okay, is this going to be the right fit for the new you and your future self? So you have to think through that. And I have one client that came to me, and she just had this gorgeous home, very upscale neighborhood. She has 3 young kids. She wanted to stay in the house, but she also knew that she was going to sleep better at night if she sold that house and downsized. And now I see her as she's got a cute new house, a beautiful new house, and pictures of smiling kids, a new puppy. And so for her future self, that resonated a lot more than that stability of the kids being in the same home. So the kids are going to be great if you're going to be great. So the other difficulty of it is the valuation of the house. You know, is HCAD the right valuation? Maybe not, probably not. And do your husband and you agree on the value of the house? If you're not agreeing on much right now, you're probably not going to agree on that. So the valuation is a little tricky because you can't just go sell the house like you can a stock in an investment account. The liquidity is another issue. So it could take, you know, again, the house could sit, I think 2 houses on my street right now that have been for sale for 2 years. There's nothing wrong with them. They're great houses. You know, but then another one goes 2 days later after it's off the market. So you just can't time that. It's very difficult. They're very illiquid. Now, some potential solutions, the one I really liked that Trey said is sell this thing while you're still married. I have seen some couples do a joint ownership, and there's some pros and cons to that. The pros are, you know, you can stay, you don't have to sell. The cons are you're still very tied to him, and that could cause some conflict. What if the roof starts leaking? What if there needs to be a new roof? Who's going to pay for that? Is he going to be on the mortgage? Is he on the mortgage right now? And is he going to keep paying that mortgage? Oh, and what if he doesn't pay? Your name's on the mortgage as well, and then your credit's out the window. So a lot of things could go wrong with joint ownership, but it is a solution. Other solutions could be if you're going to stay there is buying him out over time. Could be another solution as well. But do a lot of hard thinking about the house. The home is where your money is. Okay, so I like to think of this a divorce wish list of sorts, right? Some people of what you're going to get in the divorce. A lot of people might think, oh, you know, this painting that I love, or the silver we got when we got married, or the plates, or they're thinking tangible things, but I want to steer you towards thinking of the intangibles and the things that are really important, like liquidity, being able to access money, future money. Maybe he worked more and has a bigger retirement account. What about your future? You might not have as big of a retirement account. And what about your security? You're on your own now. You don't have somebody that's financially tied to you anymore. So those are 3 examples of real wish list items. And if your mind can get clear on what your top 3 priorities, financial priorities out of this divorce are, then that's what you can always refer back to. There's gonna be a lot of this minutia and stuff thrown at you, and that might just be distracting. And if you can come back to these 3 things and share them with your attorney and your financial advisor, this is going to be really helpful. I put this picture of the stereo speakers or the futon. He might want those things, and you didn't like them anyway, so just go ahead and give them to him. Let's keep our focus on the really important things and just let the other stuff that's not so big roll off. So there's a lot of stuff probably. If you've been married for a while, you might have a lot of stuff like furniture, collections, cars and boats, and how do you divide those things up? That could be kind of tricky. Trey mentioned earlier, things that you bring into the marriage, those are yours. A gift that you received is yours. So you can start a list of household items like that. But if then you can't agree, then you have to do something, which could be, I've seen couples flip a coin to see who gets it. I've seen couples do a silent auction where each person in the couple has a list of all the items in the house, and they write on it, okay, I would buy this couch for $500. And then the other person in the couple is going to have to put a number down as well. Well, whoever has the highest number is going to buy it from the other spouse. That could be a way to do it. Collections, a lot of these things aren't worth that much unless it's, a real valid piece of art or wine collection or something like that. Those might need a real valuation, but a lot of things don't. Cars and boats, you can get pretty accurate values on those with Kelley Blue Book. Kelley Blue Book is the place to go to see how much your car is worth and his car is worth. And boats, there is also a similar guide. I don't know what it's called, but there's also a similar guide for boats as well. I brought this up earlier. If there's a family business, that's an extra layer of complexity that needs to be delved into in detail. So this is what I was just explaining about how do you divide those things up that are around the house that you can't agree upon. So first was that simple agreement where this was mine, this was yours, let's agree. If you can't agree, then let's flip the coin. Or you could do rock, paper, scissors, your choice. Then you can do the silent auction part where you put down a price for it. I think that'd be really interesting to what your price is, his price is, and then you have to buy each other out. Maybe there does need to be an appraisal. If you do have some type of art collection or wine collection or whatever it might be. Okay, I really liked this saying, whoever said money can't buy you happiness never paid for a divorce. And I get a really big chuckle out of this every time I see it now. I don't really think I felt that way, especially in the beginnings of my divorce, but I certainly feel like it now. And, I do encourage you to spend money where it's smart. So on therapy, counseling, an attorney that's going to serve your best interest, and a financial advisor as well. So let's take a look at some strategies when it comes to risk. So we talked, a lot of people think of the financial side as just simply money and investment accounts or the house or future incomes, but do not overlook the risk, okay? You are in a new position now with a new life, and you have new risk. So make sure you know what your life insurance coverages are. If you are going to be dependent on him for maybe some child support or some future income that's agreed upon, then you want to have that covered. You want to make sure that if something happened to him, that that you would still get paid. That's smart. Also, your life is now changed. Let's say you're the breadwinner and your ex-husband is, he's not, and the kids aren't relying on him financially, they're relying on you financially. That's a time to look at life insurance coverage and to see if it makes sense for you to increase yours. And then disability insurance as well. The same thing goes for that. And that one is really usually overlooked, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that's the one that's most likely going to happen prematurely. So make sure the insurance coverages, that you don't gloss over those. What good is all that money if it's never going to get to you or to your kids? The long-term care insurance piece. So when I'm talking about long-term care, I'm talking about you might have had to help a parent or a loved one when they get older. They might need to go to a nursing home or an assisted living or have somebody come into their home. So the numbers on that are staggering. The average in Houston, $7,000 a month. If you go to an assisted living, if you have somebody come into your home full-time, it's $15,000 a month. So that's nothing to sneeze at, and it needs to be incorporated in your future financial plan. So you would want to make, and you know, a lot of times if you're married, you're relying on that other person to help you through that time and that financial burden as well, because they can help you like a caregiver or an assisted living might be able to help you up to a point. So that person's no longer going to be here. So this is a part of your financial future that can't be overlooked. So we encourage you to look into long-term care insurance or have yours revisited to make sure it's adequate as well. So the biggest thing is to take that first step, right? Know what you have, assess it. You've got to know what those numbers mean. They're going to be thrown to you. They're going to be thrown at you. And this is a time, you know, like I said, when I went through my divorce, I could tell that, you know, I wasn't thinking the same way I normally do. And this financial piece is going to affect the rest of your life. Then once you know what those numbers are, project them out. How does your life look like after this largest financial transaction, most likely the largest financial transaction of your life is over? What does your financial life look like? And how, you know, what are going to be some strategies for you in the remainder of, after the divorce, of how you're going to have your financial life? So remember the wish list, those top 3 things that are important to you, but not the stereo speakers or the futon, not those kinds of things, like the really important things, like security. I mean, maybe you had some real surprises in your divorce, in your marriage, and that's not what you want in the future. So security might be really important to you. Making sure you have money when you're older, making sure you have insurance when you're older, the long-term care insurance. Those are just some examples of that wish list. You start feeling overwhelmed, you can go, okay, these are my 3 things. All the decision-making should be based on these 3 things. That's really, really helpful as a guiding force. So detailed spending, I know y'all don't want me to say that again, but the budget, the expenses, know what they are. And that's how you're planning the remainder of your time after your husband. You've got spending, you know, part of those expenses are necessary and part of them are discretionary. And then sources of income. You know, if you're working now, what are some other, and you need more income, what are some ways to improve your income? What are some classes that you can take to go to that next level of your career? Any more income than you have now is going to really help. I mean, even if it's just something that you love to do, that you're just doing part-time, that income coming in from that is so helpful in many ways, not just with finances. Okay, so here's some tips, some other things, steps that you might want to take if you haven't already. So setting up some credit in your name is helpful. That's especially if you've been married for a long time and you don't have any credit in your name. Freezing credit, that's only really necessary if you are married to somebody that you are concerned is going to be using your name to get a loan. What would happen if you freeze your credit? No loans can be taken out or credit cards can be taken out with your name tied to them. The car repaired. See, these are some ways to spend some money before you get divorced, is repairing the car, having some procedures done, dental or medical things that need to be taken care of, buying clothing for a new job or for dating. Yes, maybe that will come again and be fun. Considering some career possibilities, taking some courses to improve those skills, and pictures, videos of contents of your home, safety deposit box will really help. The checklist, Trey mentioned he has a checklist on his website, and the Guide to Good Divorce has a divorce checklist as well. Go ahead and print that out, or and go through that checklist, know what those things are, know what they mean. Contact a professional, a certified divorce financial analyst. If you refinanced your house, you need to find all the paperwork of when you did that and what that is. There's a temporary period during the divorce, and then there's the permanent situation afterwards. So there's some planning to be done before everything's final. So that needs to be considered as well, the expenses before you're divorced and protecting your assets. All right, so talk to a pro, therapist, a financial planner, an attorney. It's going to put you in a different place in the divorce, and a better place. Does anybody know who Lizzo is? Okay, she has a great song about a guy walking out the door, and I think that once y'all are through this, I'm going to show you my Lizzo slideshow, and I feel like that y'all are going to be singing at the top of your lungs like Lizzo and me shortly down the road.
And do